Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to our second information session for the 2021 Asia Pacific WEPs Award. I'll just give a minute for more people to join us. I still see people are still coming in the room. So we're very happy that people are joining us today and have signed up. I'm looking to see if I see any familiar names. So we'll just let a few more people join and then we'll get started in just a minute. I'll give it just one more minute. Maybe we're still at the hour, and I know we will have others joining us live on Facebook, viewing live from wherever they may be. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started because we're going to kind of go through the agenda and show a few videos first. And as more people join, I don't think they'll miss too much. But welcome everyone today to this information session. Let me change my slide here. So I'll go through the agenda quickly and then get started. My name is Amy Baum and I am with UN Women with the program We Empower Asia that I'm going to tell you a bit more about that's helping organize the awards. And then you'll also hear from another very special guest we have with us today, Kathy Mulville, who's the Business Partnerships Director of Investing in Women, and will explain a little bit how we have brought the process together this year. So I'm going to go through a bit of background to the Asia Pacific WEPs Awards, why they started and how they came about, a bit of introduction to the WEPs Awards, giving you a little bit more background and detail. We'll take you through the application process and how the whole thing works, what it consists of, and then we'll go through some Q&A. We'll definitely save quite a bit of time for live questions and answers to go over anything that you have concern about. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to just show briefly, I'll stop for a second so I can change screens. I want to just share a little video that's going to give you a good idea of what the WEPs Awards are about. And it's kind of a nice introduction. Okay, here we go.
As we embark on the next decade of the Women's Empowerment Principles, or so-called WEPs, we are celebrating this milestone by honoring business action to empower women in the Asia-Pacific.
For those who have been making continuous effort, this is the time to showcase your progress and achievements and to champion for sector-wide change.
2020, marking the anniversaries of the Women Empowerment Principles and the Beijing Platform for Action, is an important milestone for driving corporate action on women's equality and inclusion. We now not only have the momentum, but also the power to take our actions to the next level.
AWIN is honored to partner with the UN Women Asia Pacific Office in hosting the first UN Asia Pacific WEPs Awards. Highlighting outstanding contributions towards gender equality is vital because success inspires success, and equality is a strategic key to continued growth and stability in our region.
As CEOs, directors, and leaders of industry, many of you have developed and strengthened gender-inclusive practices, programs, and actions. These inspiring examples need to be showcased, appreciated, and multiplied for wider impact.
All stakeholders, including decision makers, companies, and civil society, must work together and do their part to better support women as business leaders and in the workplace. As we gradually recover from economic crisis, we must build back better.
Signing the WEPs, one of the largest public-private sector efforts for gender equality, is just the first step. Now it's time to fast-track your SDG 5 impact. Share your best practices, share your actions, get visible, and inspire others.
If your organization is an organization that is committed to gender equality, promotes the rights of women, and if your CEO or director is heard or seen promoting gender equality, enabling working conditions for women, issues like an equal pay for equal work, then it's time that you're acknowledged for it.
Join the ranks of our exceptional corporate leaders making gender-inclusive business a reality.
All companies who are champions of women's empowerment, regardless of size and sector, apply for the UN Women Asia Pacific Women's Empowerment Principle Awards.
So don't delay and apply for UN Women's WEPs Awards in the Asia Pacific.
Okay, fantastic. I love that video. I've seen it many times, but it always gets me very excited again, just to share the initiative and some of the great work we saw last year. So you may have noticed we had a lot of our 2020 winners last year in the video, and it's still so inspiring this year to see all that they've done and continue to do. And we look forward to lots of applications for this year. So let me explain just a little bit before going into the background of the WEPs Awards. So they're organized primarily by UN Women's We Empower Asia program. So we're a program that's co-funded and run in partnership with the European Union that is really to get more women to participate in and lead in business. And this could include business in corporates, multinationals, down to SMEs and individual entrepreneurs. And we operate in 7 countries in the Asia Pacific. You'll see the little map here. And we have a strong focus on really inclusion and value chains, also linking to the European Union and globally, and capacitating more entrepreneurs and also corporates to have more gender inclusive trade and business practices. And the primarily way we do this, especially with the private sector, is through the Women's Empowerment Principles, the WEPs, as you'll get to hear them called over and over today. So the WEPs were convened 10 years ago by UN Global Compact and UN Women. And they're a set of 7 principles that really provide the only holistic framework to guide businesses to become more gender responsive across the value chain. Let me see if I have our little slide. I don't today, but we also have another slide that we use to sort of visualize this value chain, but we'd like to see gender equality comprehensively throughout the organization, going from leadership at the top and driving that commitment into the workplace, and then into the marketplace, whether that's your marketing strategies or also the entrepreneurs you work with or supply from, through community initiatives, and then also underneath all of that, transparency and reporting on your gender data and practices. So these are the WEPs. And basically, we know some people may have already, may already be on board with this, some it may be new, but we know that there's a strong human rights argument to support gender equality and women's empowerment, but there's also a very strong business case. And we've shown more and more that gender diverse companies outperform their peers. We know that when companies take bold action to support gender equality, they have cost savings, they have increased credibility and trust among their consumers, their partners. It promotes innovation. It also promotes market growth. And we know that $4.5 trillion, it's an astounding figure, could be added to Asia-Pacific economies by 2025 through advancing women's equality. And the focus of today's webinar is not COVID, but we know that the effects to women's economic empowerment and participation in the economy have been particularly affected by COVID-19, and we see a lot of the progress made regressing. And so we really are at a huge crossroads and a very important time to move action forward for gender equality. So the WEPs is a global movement. Any business, any private sector organization can become a WEP signatory, and it's a very straightforward process to join. You download a CEO statement that marks your commitment to aspiring to address the WEPs. We don't expect all companies to be addressing all 7 areas. It's not a regulation mechanism. It's more that commitment that you're going to aspire to take this holistic viewpoint and hopefully begin monitoring and reporting on your progress. But it's a very simple application to apply, open globally, and that's also why for our WEPs Awards, we open it up beyond our 7 countries. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about eligibility later, but we are welcoming people to apply for the WEPs Awards and to become WEP signatories from all across the region. And so this brings us to the Asia Pacific WEPs Awards. So the WEPs have been utilized as a tool for 10 years to mobilize private sector action and also for companies to make their efforts visible and show the practices that they're doing aligned to the WEPs. And so in 2020, last year was our inaugural year, we launched the Asia Pacific WEPs Awards, which is really the only Asia Pacific initiative recognizing companies that are taking action for gender equality aligned to the WEPs, to this value chain approach. And it was designed to make these practices more visible and encourage businesses to take action by sharing their journey and also joining the WEPs. So I will tell you a little bit more about this later, but we do have national WEPs Awards ceremonies in the 7 countries in which we implement our We Empower Asia countries. And then the winners from those regions and also the pool of applicants coming from outside those countries are eligible to win at the regional ceremony, which will take place in November. And applications are open now. Of course, I'm going to walk you through them. They're open now until July 31st. But before we go into the details, I also want to share a very special guest we have with us today. And she's going to tell us more about the partnership between UN Women and Investing in Women, which we're very excited to have in place for this year's WEPs Awards. And so I'm going to hand it over to Kathy Mulville to share a little bit about what Investing in Women does and why they decided to partner with us for the WEPs Awards. Kathy?
Great, thanks Amy, thanks for the introduction. Maybe if you could just click and we can get the first bit of the slide up. So it's a real pleasure to be part of this information session today, and welcome to everybody who is joining the session today. So I am the Director of Business Partnerships at Investing in Women, and Investing in Women is an initiative of the Australian government, and our goal, which is we share the same goal as We Empower Asia and UN Women, in trying to advance women's economic empowerment and working collectively towards a more gender equal world. Investing in Women works to achieve that in 3 ways. So the first way we do that is that we've established business coalitions in the 4 countries where Investing in Women is located, which is in Vietnam, Myanmar, Philippines, and Indonesia. And in those countries, we've worked to establish coalitions of businesses who are committed to advancing workplace gender equality within their companies, but also more importantly, to come together with their peers as role models to encourage other businesses to join them and to be able to realize the business advantage of workplace gender equality. A big part of the work that we do at Investing in Women is trying to gather data and evidence to back up this business advantage that companies are able to realize if they do progress workplace gender equality. In the countries where we work and where We Empower Asia and UN Women are working on the WEPs Awards, the WEPs, we work together. We encourage our member companies to sign up to the WEPs, and last year we were encouraging them to apply. So it's a huge honor this year to actually be an official sponsor, and actually we will be sponsoring one of or the custodian of the Workplace Gender Equal Workplace Award. And Amy will be taking you through the different categories later, and we'll explain what that means. We also work in 2 other ways at Investing in Women, and I won't go into a great deal of detail, but we do work on in impact investments for SMEs, trying to increase the availability of capital for women-owned and women-led businesses. And we also, very importantly, try to work on gender norms, as I think all of us working in companies to improve workplace gender equality will come across the challenges of prevailing social norms. norms which do influence how men and women think about what is appropriate for women and men in the world of work, and of course what they do at home. The reason why we think why we want to support the awards is as Amy said earlier on, it is important that we recognise businesses who are willing to make that commitment to workplace gender equality. It takes commitment, resources, time in order to realise the gains and to be able to make progress on workplace gender equality. We also think that it's a really good way to identify and share best practice. So from the video, and if you go onto the WEPs website, there's outlines and descriptions of the types of activities that companies have undertaken to progress gender equality and to look at look how to improve their supply chains, accountability and transparency. Sorry, it got stuck in my throat then. These examples I think are really, really important so that other companies can see what strategies work and get ideas. We really want role models. We really need leadership in this area. And I think companies who are already doing a good job, it's great to give them a platform and a voice to be able to demonstrate what they're doing. And you know, we're always looking for good strategies, we're always looking for good ideas, and I think that the WEPs Awards is a really good way to highlight some of the best practices that are happening. So I'm going to hand back to Amy, but I do hope that you know, as many companies as possible are going to apply this year. Do highlight the great work you're doing. We all need more good stories and good examples to share both within the region and more widely. Okay, thanks, Amy.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kathy. Very, very inspiring words. And we're very lucky that we have Investing in Women in the VCs on board. We've been inspired by their work, and we're hoping to see a lot of applicants mobilized from their VCs and their networks. And as Kathy said, we're very excited to keep sharing best practices and also ideas. We see an incredible amount of peer sharing after the WEPs Awards last year as well. And so now I'll go a bit into the categories that you can showcase your practices for. So I'm going to give an overview and a few details of each of the categories. I'll go over some eligibility and then go into the application process a bit. And then I promise I will save time for question and answer. And I think my colleague already typed in the chat, but if not, please do go ahead and put your question into the Q&A function, just because it might be relevant to everyone, and then we'll make sure we address it at the end. Okay, so this year we have 5 main categories that we're promoting this year. So leadership commitment, gender inclusive workplace. Sorry, I should have changed these. It's my fault on this slide. Community engagement and partnerships, gender responsive marketplace, and transparency and reporting. The reason I say they should be flipped is because they follow the value chain of the WEPs. You might notice up from leadership, down into workplace, down into marketplace, community level, and then transparency kind of undergirding everything. Okay, let me explain for the 5 main categories first. We have a first place winner, a first runner up, a second runner up. And what we're also going to do this year across these 5 main categories of all the applications that come in, we're going to choose 3 SME champions. And so this is going to be to support some SMEs or smaller entrepreneurs who may have really promising practices in place that are showing impact or that are very innovative, very inspiring, but maybe don't have all the policies and practices in place yet to really compete on a level playing field with the other companies who are applying. So just to recognize really the contribution that small and medium-sized enterprises make to the regional economy every single day, we wanted to just honor that and also give that an extra boost and showcase this year. And we're also very excited for 2021. We have a highlighted category. So we had our youth leadership category last year, but this year we're bumping it up a little bit by aligning it with UN Women's Global Generation Equality Campaign, which is really a global campaign bringing together public and private sector stakeholders, and a strong youth component looking at feminist action and how we can really drive change throughout the region through really multi-stakeholder action coalitions and regional dialogues. And then there'll be a big forum that the final culmination is taking place in Paris in a few weeks, actually. And we just really also wanted to recognize the contribution of young leaders in the region. Okay, so let me explain what the criteria are for each category. So we will share the slides after. I'll give kind of an overview of each of these, and you can always ask any more questions at the end if you'd like. Okay, so leadership commitment is kind of the classical leadership award. This goes to leaders that are 35 and over. It doesn't have to be a CEO. It could also be a strong managing director, CFO, vice president or deputy director in a company who sets strong corporate commitments to gender equality. So this could be a commitment to institute policies in place, put regulations in place, embark on a study to gender data to create more transparency, really mark that commitment as Kathy spoke about, and take bold action as the leader to drive that through the organization. And these can also be public or private, or not private, but internal to the company commitments that they make. And we often see a strong element with this of partnerships that leaders that are trying to pair with other organizations, whether they're NGOs, government entities, other peer private sector companies, to initiate change. And this can be quite broad. It can be in any of the other areas of the WEPs if a leader drove something in workplace or with the community, but we're looking to really see strong actions and commitment taken from the leader. Okay, down into the workplace. This is a category where we see the largest number of applications we saw last year, and where we also see a lot of companies starting their journey when they either start their journey on the WEPs or they start their journey with gender equality. And there's a range of initiatives that comprise the workplace category. And we also don't like to see this as only the standard workplace. This can also comprise factory settings. This doesn't have to be the standard office workplace, and this can also cover any size or sector of organization. So we're looking for a range of initiatives. As I said, these could be things looking at equal recruitment and pay, flexible working arrangements, perhaps initiated in the time of COVID, flexible working hours, telecommuting, remote working, support for family responsibilities of female and male employees, especially to support the unequal care burden, which we know has been exacerbated with COVID-19 and lots of working parents struggling to juggle their duties with their jobs while caring for children who may be home from school. So this could be initiating childcare facilities on site, perhaps even providing a childcare benefit for your employees. It can comprise a range of different measures. Guaranteeing the safety of and well-being of women and male employees. This could even be having an innovative initiative for transportation to and from work that kept employees safe. We saw, I think, a really innovative project last year where someone had initiated a bike share program, or where their employees could rent bikes to be able to ride together or ride more safely and quickly to and from work. That can comprise that. And certainly also strong sexual harassment policies, or initiating a new sexual harassment policy and practice in place to protect all employees. This also includes promoting women's career development and also leadership, creating a pipeline for young women leaders, or providing more hours of training to young women or in underrepresented departments where you might see male employees overrepresented. And this goes to a company or organization, whereas leadership would be, the winner would be the individual. So quite a broad category. Okay, going on to gender responsive marketplace. So this is where we do see some companies kind of scratch their heads, and I think it's a bit less tangible or familiar to lots of companies than workplace. So marketplace comprises kind of two main components. So one component is looking at the marketplace that you procure and supply from. So looking throughout your value chain from sourcing to disposal. And this is focusing a lot on supplier diversity. Are you measuring how much of your procurement spend is spent on women entrepreneurs or women-owned businesses or women-led businesses? Are you taking action to increase your supplier diversity, right? Are you also, this could also include companies that are taking action to procure from other organizations that have made commitments to gender equality, or in their codes initiating stronger policies to have those gender requirements in place for those they supply from. Progressive programs incentivizing procurement from women-owned businesses, distribution and selling. And the other component this includes is also marketing and advertising practices. So companies that have taken steps to kind of de-stereotype a lot of their marketing or show really progressive roles, or to try and show a different role and kind of disrupt some of the typical gender norms in their advertising and marketing, can also fall into this category. And this could also include job advertisements in addition to external communications and marketing for different products. Also supporting women entrepreneurs through capacity development or market access opportunities that some companies might be a part of. Okay, moving on. I'm trying to look out for my time here. Community engagement and partnerships. So we had this category similarly last year. I think it was community and industry engagement. So one focus of this category can be on kind of standard community engagement. This can be integrating gender equality into CSR or sustainability strategies, but we really hope that we get examples that are going beyond the classic CSR and really trying to take a systemic approach or work with a broad range of partners to be able to really have an impact across different levels. And we also have labeled it partnerships this year. We're still looking at companies that have taken steps to advocate for industry-wide or sector-wide change, and most often this does come through forming strong partnerships. So those who have taken the steps to commit to engaging in these partnerships, this could be participating in advocacy platforms like the Unstereotype Alliance, where an industry comes together to promote gender stereotype in different ways, or also forming a strong partnership with other private sector organizations or public sector or NGOs or other international organizations to make an impact and support with a certain program. So again, this category is also somewhat broad and it goes to a company or organization, but it can encompass kind of a wide array of initiatives. Okay, and coming to our last main category, this one, transparency and reporting. So we're really, really excited to have this category included this year. And you'll see this little picture here, this WEPs Transparency and Accountability Framework. This is a newly developed transparency and accountability framework for the WEPs, which basically guides companies to a framework they can use to measure and indicate on, report on the indicators that they're addressing within their company. I won't go too much into the framework. I know that's not why we're here today, but it is available on our website if you would like to see. Maybe one of our colleagues could put it into the chat. And it is also now available to publicly report on WEPs.org for the first time, that companies that do wish to take this step. And to reiterate what Kathy said, we also do need more to be taking this step and showing and measuring what actually works and makes an impact. And so we have seen more companies taking steps to report and enhance their accountability, but we're also hoping to see more examples through this awards category this year. So this can comprise quite a few different initiatives as well. This could be public reporting of company-wide gender data. This can include ESG reporting, of course, by companies, but we are really looking for things that go beyond just inclusion of one indicator of gender equality in ESG reporting. We are trying to look for initiatives that have taken that commitment forward and might be reporting on 3 to 5 different indicators. Women in leadership, of course, tends to be a common one. Also retention rates, number of training hours provided, promotion rates, also having strong sexual harassment policies in place. So this could be one initiative that could be applied for. This could also be conducting a company-wide gender audit or an analysis of a particular issue. We've also seen companies that have taken steps to create a global gender pay gap report also, and then kind of broken that down into different regions and then compared. This could also be looking at procurement spent on women-owned businesses, trying to do an analysis of different offices. And this could be at regional level or individual office level. As I said, it could be integrating gender indicators into sustainability reporting or enhancing the amount of gender indicators you're including. And this could also be advocating across your industry to advance public reporting. I will mention it again in a minute, but I think this would be a good time to mention as well that chambers of commerce, industry associations, and stock exchanges are also eligible to apply for the WEPs awards and become WEP signatories. And so we might see, we often see a lot of this movement coming from the stock exchanges or others who are trying to get their companies to integrate more indicators, into their reporting. So this could also be, this award could also go to a stock exchange or a business association, for example. Okay, final category, youth leadership. So this is quite similar to the leadership category, but it's leaders who are under the age of 35 at the time of application. The actions are the same: taking action to promote gender equality within the company, or delivering public messages and commitments to gender equality. The main difference with this one that we're quite excited about is you don't need to be a titled leader. So this could be for a young CEO or a young founder of a startup, but this could also be for any young employee in a company who has taken the steps themselves to maybe spearhead an initiative for gender equality within their company. So you don't need to have that, manager, leadership, title. We really do want to see any youth in private sector organizations who are taking action for gender equality. And we had some amazing applicants last year, so we're also really excited to see who comes forth this year. Okay, I see we do have a few questions coming in. Yes, I see the one question, can we get the presentation? I will share it from everyone afterwards. And also all of the information is available on our website, WEPs Awards website. Okay, so going into who should apply. One thing we always like to say is that, which is true, is that the WEPs Awards is for everyone in business in the Asia Pacific. So this comprises everyone from multinational companies with your headquarters in New York or Brussels, where have it, all the way down to single entrepreneurs, micro enterprises, SMEs, social enterprises as well, as long as there's a profit generating arm. And as I said before, industry associations, stock exchanges, and chambers of commerce. Unfortunately, nonprofits, foundations, or charities or government entities cannot apply. Our rule of thumb is that anyone who can apply to become a WEP signatory can apply for the awards. And because the WEPs is designed for private sector, those other organizations cannot apply, unfortunately. But if you are a business and you either have residency in the Asia Pacific or operate in one of the Asia Pacific countries, you can apply. And this holds also for youth leaders. They don't have to be a national of the country of application. It could be a young founder from Singapore who has started a business in Malaysia, and they could become the youth leadership winner for Malaysia because their enterprise is based in Malaysia. And the other really good news, because we know last year we saw a lot of non-WEP signatories generating interest, you do not need to be a signatory at the time of application to apply. So if this is your first time hearing about the WEPs today, first time hearing about the awards, you do not need to be a signatory to apply. The stipulation is that if you are shortlisted, and so once we've gone through the initial review process, we'll send an email to all the shortlisted applicants. And if you are shortlisted, in order to become an awardee, you will need to become a signatory before the time of the ceremony. We can't award a WEPs award to a non-signatory. But as I said before, it's quite easy to become a signatory. It's non-obligatory to report. There is no obligatory reporting mechanism as of now. And also we don't expect nor you know, we know that companies aren't addressing all 7 pillars. No company is addressing all 7 pillars, and we understand that every company or business comes to the WEPs at their own starting point. And so don't worry if you're kind of intimidated by 7 different principles. It's a strong aspiration and commitment. It's not saying that you're going to update progress on every single one of these principles. Okay, so that's a quick note on eligibility. Why apply? You demonstrate your leadership on gender equality and also yield benefits from the business, as we've also heard. You build credibility and fast track your sustainability agenda. And I think more importantly, make your action visible to consumers, stakeholders, peers. As Kathy said, we need more examples. We know there's a lot of good practice taking place in the Asia Pacific. And I think we really need to show more examples of that and also show others what can be done and what is being done. And we also see some really great examples of multinational companies whose gender equality directives are coming down from headquarters, and they've adapted it and contextualized it locally and put in place kind of some really good initiatives that can work with their local context. And we really want to make this more visible. Benefits to applicants. Everyone who applies gets access to a self-diagnostic tool. This is a tool that was designed for the WEPs that helps you assess gaps, measure areas where you're strongest and areas where you might be able to do a bit more work. You join a global network of more than 5,000 now. I'm sorry, I should have changed it. More than 5,000 CEOs worldwide have committed to joining the WEPs, and their companies have joined the WEPs. You get free access to free online trainings and webinars within our network. And also for the awardees and the winners, you gain worldwide recognition and visibility through joint speaking and media opportunities in UN Women's communication channels, also investing in women's and the WEPs communication channels. All of the awardees will get a testimonial video that will be featured on our YouTube channel. You can watch some of those from last year. Maybe again, if one of my colleagues could put the link to those videos in the chat, that would be great. And all awardees will also get a WEPs Award Champion profile. That's kind of a 2 to 3 page piece that talks about your initiative and why it started and what you did, that will be put on the UN Women Media channel. So it's all around a good, I think a really great initiative to apply for, and there's really nothing to lose. I think we saw several last year that didn't think they had really done enough, but we found that a lot were doing more than they expected or better than they thought. And within their initiative in that certain category, we're really doing some good work and bringing forth some innovative ideas. So we really do encourage as many people to apply as possible. I think before I go into the key dates, I just wanted to actually say one other thing to clarify a question that we often get a lot on becoming a WEP signatory and who can apply. So if you are a multinational company like Unilever or Nestle or Danone, you can apply at the regional level with a regional office if an initiative is taking place in several countries, but you can also apply individually from each office. So Unilever Thailand, Unilever Vietnam, Unilever China, Unilever Singapore could also apply individually. When that happens, each individual office does need to become a WEP signatory by having their local CEO sign, because it also signals that local commitment to driving the agenda. So we get some companies coming to us and saying, you know, we're a signatory at HQ level, we've already done it. We say, yes, but that's a CEO commitment coming from thousands and thousands of miles away, right? That there needs to be that local commitment coming from the CEO or the highest decision maker in that particular office applying from the award. So that's just one note for multinational companies. Okay, a bit on the dates, and then we'll go into the application quickly. I know we're running out of time, I apologize. So applications are open until July 31st, and then by September, let me find a specific date there, I lost it. By September 23rd, I think it was, my viewer is blocking me, sorry. August 23rd, we'll notify shortlisted applicants by email. October, we have our national ceremonies in the 7 We Empower Asia countries, and then November 18th will be the regional ceremony, which will be kind of the final culminating event. Okay, the application process is all done online. So you go to our website, which is written down right here. You choose your language. We have applications available in English, Vietnamese, Bahasa, and Thai. And we do also have applications in Chinese as well. These are some of our We Empower Asia country languages. So we do provide those. And step 3 is you complete the application. So a bit of information about the application. Yes, as I said, all submitted online. And each company can apply for up to 2 categories, which is great news. The application has 3 parts: general applicant information, general questions. These are multiple choice questions that assess your policies and practices. And these are aligned to the WEPs principles. And this is aligned to the actually assessment tool that I mentioned earlier. And I'll show you what these look like in a minute. And then part 3 is the category questions, where you actually write the description of the initiative that you're applying for gender equality, gender equal workplace, or gender responsive marketplace. In parts 2 and 3, you are asked to upload supporting documents that provide evidence for the answers that you give. And we guide you through in the application what recommended documents are suggested for each question. This is so that we can verify the answers that you're giving and ensure that we maintain a certain level of rigor to the process. We do really want to be inclusive as well, though. So we do also appreciate that some startups, some smaller businesses may not have annual reports or sustainability reports or all the documents in place. So we also accept a written description in lieu of documentation for those that aren't able to provide it. We really do want to work with as many different types of organizations as we can. Okay, so part 1 looks a little bit like this. So just so you can see it and get a preview, how did you hear about the WEPs Awards? Number of employees, percentage of women employees, the CEO, the contact person for the application, general information. Part 2 with the questions, we ask about things like having percentage of women in management at all levels. Does the company offer maternity leave, paternity leave, sexual harassment policies? And like I said, these questions are aligned throughout the 7 principles of the WEP, so they will go into suppliers and marketplace, also community initiatives, reporting initiatives a bit. But again, we do appreciate not every company has taken the steps to do this. And because of that, I don't think, I'm sorry, I don't think it was added in here. But because of that, part 2, it is scored, but it's only weighted at 25% of the application score, because we do want to be awarding companies that are taking the steps to institutionalize these policies and practices. But because we also recognize that not everyone is able to do all of it, and some just don't have the capacity, that's only weighted at 25%. Where 75% of your total score comes is what you write for part 3, what you've actually done for your specific initiative. So this is what the application will look like. You'll see a quick description again of the category after you've selected it. We ask you to enter a brief title about it. And then there's 3 different sections to fill out. One is the background and context, and we give you these guiding questions. You don't need to answer every single question exactly. We know that every initiative is different, but this is what we're looking for, what we want to get out of your application in order to be able to assess the answer. So background and context, and then the key actions that you took. What were the key actions that you took? Did you work with any external partners? Who was involved? How did you take your approach to doing this? And also, what were the biggest challenges and lessons learned? We also want to see that the companies just didn't roll out a big policy, but also took the time to reflect and look back and think of the biggest challenges and how they might overcome them, and what some of the lessons learned are. And then finally, looking at results and sustainability to see what the key results are to date. If there's any data available, we would like to see it. What metrics or framework you're using to measure success or measure it in the future. And also how you're looking forward to sustain, carry forward, adapt, scale up, roll out the initiative moving forward. And so we do also request supporting documents for this to support your answer. And with this part 3, because these initiatives can be very long-term and often also public. We accept videos, we accept, links to YouTube videos or links to public articles, links to published reports. You can even share Facebook comments that came through maybe from people, or Facebook posts or tweets, all kinds of things we accept with this. And of course, also sustainability reporting, CSR reports, but this can comprise a wide range of supporting documents again. Just to verify that answer, because we aren't able to do site visits or do in-person verification. So this is the application, and then you get to one final section where you just submit your application. You can start the application and return back at any time, actually, which is really nice if you need to pass it around to a few different departments. You can also download the application in Excel form or PDF on our website if you want to look at it and get prepared beforehand. And you can also always reach out to us. There's an email on the bottom here, and myself as well, anytime you need support with the application. I did want to share one final thing, I'm sorry, before we go to Q&A. Oh, this is where I had the weightings. I'm sorry, I forgot my own presentation. So just to give you an insight a bit into the scoring process, the shortlisting is conducted internally by UN Women, where we look over part 2 and part 3. So again, part 2 is weighted at 25%, part 3 at 75%. And then the final scoring is all done by an expert panel of external judges who we've brought together from a broad range of stakeholders who are experts in gender equality first and foremost, but also engaging with the private sector and women's economic empowerment. They're all briefed to ensure consistency in the scoring. They're taken through a practice application. They review only the part 3, so they're not seeing any of the policies and practices that you're asked to answer to in part 2. They review part 3, give the score, and then we combine all the scores and get the final calculation to determine the awardees. So we do try and keep it quite an objective process to ensure that there's no bias and that it's consistent. Okay, finally, I will stop talking. Okay, we still have a good 14 minutes left, so hopefully plenty of time for Q&A. Okay, let's see what we have. We have most of them in the Q&A, and I'll take as many as I can, and if I see some come up for Kathy, I'll pass them to her. Yes, so I already said we will share the presentation after, I promise. Okay. For the leadership commitment, do efforts and initiative of the leader need to be nominated, need to be focused on gender equality and women empowerment, or can these be one aspect of a bigger industry campaign or event? There does need to be a strong focus on, it can certainly be part of a bigger event, but there would need to be quite a strong focus, I would say, or element of gender equality and women's empowerment. If it's something that's just kind of tucked in as one pillar in a larger campaign that the leader hasn't themselves specifically focused on or done work on, it might not work. But you can always, if you want to get in touch with us and tell us more about this specific campaign, we can give you some more guidance on whether or not that would fit. I don't want to say no across the board. Okay, what kind of write-up and what length is required to be submitted for the categories? So we do provide the length actually in those. Let me just go back quickly. Okay, yes. So for this part 3, we do actually provide the word counts that are available, and there are limits set on them so that companies can't write everything. So we do have these word limits set in place to guide you. And we are looking for kind of a narrative response. You can respond one by one to each of the questions, but we would like more of a narrative response that guides us through the initiative. Just as if you were kind of reading a piece about, what a leader done, a short piece in a magazine article or an article online. And actually, we can think about providing a good example online for people to look at of what we consider a strong application. I hope that answers your question. Okay, would just like to confirm, I heard this correctly, that government entities are not eligible for the WEPs award, that it's focused mainly on private sector. Yes, unfortunately, they're not eligible because you need to be eligible to sign the WEPs to become a WEPs award applicant, and it's only for private sector entities. So government entities, unfortunately, cannot apply. This is a great question. Is there a specific time frame for initiatives that will be covered in the nomination form? Yes, okay. We should have included this, but we haven't. So the general rule of thumb, and I think it's in the application, not the presentation, but the general rule of thumb is that the initiative, there is no time limit on when it could have started, but it does still need to be either being implemented now or have an active impact on those it was intended to impact. So it could have been an initiative that rolled out in 2015, but it's gone through several adaptations and it's still being implemented within the company and going through review and going through changes. But it can't be something that, you know, a great initiative, for example, it can't be something that was started in 2018 to do one study and then nothing has been done with the study or no actions have been put into place to change the results. If it was a workplace study or a study on marketplace or an ad campaign that was released in 2017 maybe, but the company hasn't taken any further actions on gender equality, then that wouldn't be applicable. So, okay, I hope that answers your question. Let me know if not. Strictly follow the word count. Yes, it will cut you off, unfortunately, but I should note on that though, on the word count, when you upload your supporting documents, we don't want to be completely overloaded with hundreds of pages, but you can upload, you know, articles that have been written about the initiative, or you can detail a few more things or some of the results when you upload supporting documents for that part 3. So the majority of the assessment is based on what's written in that application, but we do review the supporting documents, so you can throw in a little bit extra there. Focus only on one initiative or multiple initiatives that have a common goal. This is a great question. Typically, it depends on which category it aligns in. So sometimes we do see that a workplace initiative maybe covers multiple, or a workplace application covers multiple initiatives that were done within the workplace. If it's several initiatives that have a common goal, I think what you could do is look first to see which category it might fit best in. It could be that it fits in leadership, maybe that it was something spearheaded by the leader. If it covers multiple categories, I would say you can use the exact same bigger project to apply for 2 categories. Maybe it was something that affected the workplace and the community, and you could apply for that. But if it's something that all fits within workplace, for example, you can include the names of several different initiatives. If each one had a name that the company rolled out, a project, you can include multiple of those under the workplace category, for example. Okay, the entry itself, do we just encode the details in the form, or do we need to have it designed with, oh my gosh, no. Please don't spend time on design. You just need to type it in on the online form. Please don't spend time designing. No, it's all just done online. In fact, it's not something that's emailed in or uploaded. You can upload supporting documents as you want, but for the actual application, you just type it in online. We are a company working with 50,000 rural artisans, and most of them are women. We're working for their rights and providing them opportunities, but they are not directly working from the workplace. Are we eligible to apply? Yes, I would say that is their workplace. Wherever they're working from would, for us, constitute the workplace where they are employed. So I would say you are most definitely eligible to apply. If you wanted to email us and see where your initiative best fit, whether it was for workplace or it was more focused on community or even marketplace, we would be more than happy to have a bilateral discussion with you on where that might fit. Okay, SME, which have freelancers, are also eligible. How can you differentiate? Yes. Okay, SMEs that have freelancers working for them are also eligible. Yes, yes, they would still be eligible to apply for any of the categories. How can you differentiate SME from MNC initiatives? Thanks. Okay, So I know it does get a little bit confusing, but an SME can apply for any of the categories. We had organizations last year that were less than 10 employees apply for the leadership category or the marketplace category. What we're basically doing is we're going to look at the wider pool of applications, and for organizations that are less than 250 employees and don't seem to have the same level of documentation, we're going to put those into a separate SME champions pool, and those will be chosen for the SME champions. So an SME can still win an award next to a multinational. That's perfectly fine, but for those that are SMEs that show really great promising practices, but not the policies, they'll be put into that separate kind of SME champion pool. I hope that makes sense. It is a bit tricky, but yeah, just know that SMEs are still eligible to win like anybody else for any category. Okay, one more question, then we might have a little bit more time. If and when we think of other questions while answering the application form, for example, who can we reach out to? Okay. So anytime you have a question, and also you can start and save at any time. If you want, you can contact this email, weempower.asia@unwomen.org, or you can also contact me or my colleague Deepa, who's on the line personally, because we end up answering a lot of the general questions anyways. And if your application is coming from one of our 7 We Empower Asia countries, then we might connect you with our program managers in the country teams who often might be able to give you more specific advice related to whatever initiative it is. Okay, any other questions? I think there might have been a few others that came in that I didn't see. Okay. Okay, any other questions? Any last minute questions? I'll give it maybe one more minute. I hope it's been helpful for everyone. Maybe what I'll do just while we have the time to show everyone, just briefly, is go to the website. Let me pop up the website. I think just while we have the time, and especially if some watch us back and they may want it for reference, this is the website. This is the Asia Pacific WEPs Awards website. And so all that you do, the application is fully completed online. So you're just going to go to apply. And this has all the information as well, by the way, right? This is the homepage, has our other information sessions. You can even watch the regional ceremony from last year, some of the winners' videos. It's got all the information on dates, categories, eligibility, selection. And then you just go here to apply and you select your language. So I'm going to select English in this case. So I had started a draft before. So I'm going to say discard and start over. Applicants per category, someone just asked, it's hard to say. I might have to give you an update as they start rolling in, because we last year was our first year, so it's kind of hard for us to ballpark. I did just want to show everyone briefly. So after you answer a question, if it's red asterisk, you probably know it's required. But what I can do at any time, if I need to leave my application, is save. And I don't, we do use Jotform because it's a great platform, but it can make it a bit complicated. But what I'm going to do is skip create an account on Jotform. Okay, I'm just going to enter my email. Oops, let me enter this one. And then send a link. And then what it's going to do is actually send a link to my email. And then I'm going to get a copy of my application so I can look at it. You can probably hear my email buzzing. I can go back in and finish the application at any time. And so when I see a question like this, I select the answer. It will ask me the percentage. And then I either need to upload a file or I need to write a description. Okay, let me see if I got. Okay, just to show you a bit how it looks. Okay, any other last minute questions? I know we are at time. Into live. We will, just for anyone who's curious, we will have a few more information sessions before applications close on July 31st, just to provide any other support, or you can ask live questions. But as we said, you can always contact all of us. So I think since it seems like no more are rolling in, I just want to say a big thank you to Kathy for joining us today. And sharing about investing in women's sponsorship and partnership with us this year. And then also just a big thank you to everyone behind the scenes at UN Women that always helps us make these tech events happen. And so to everyone, thank you who joined us today, and thank you to everyone joining us on Facebook throughout the interwebs. And I hope to see all of your applications rolling in soon. So thanks everyone. Bye.